This week we will talk about the DCEU not being a true cinematic universe, we have another installment of Tezzz Talks, and we introduce a new crew member to the team of Nerd Central. Nerd Central starts right now. Hello and welcome to episode 4 of Nerd Central. I'm your host, Nathaniel Cochran. Attention DC fans, the DCEU is no more. Before you go light your torches and sharpen your pitchforks, the universe is still around, it's just not going to be as interconnected as the Marvel Cinematic Universe, or other cinematic universes in other franchises. This past summer we got a first taste of this with new universe with Wonder Woman, where they mentioned events in the universe, but let Wonder Woman stand on its own. The DCEU definitely needs some more work to catch up to Marvel. Now we have another installment of Tezzz Talks, where Tezzz talks about something in movie, TV, or comic books. What do you have for us this week, Tezzz?
This is Tezzz Talks on Nerd Central.
Well, hello. Welcome to another edition of Tezzz Talks on Nerd Central, and today I'll be talking about Predator, the entire franchise as a whole. Now, the first Predator movie came out in 1987. Now, that was a few years before I was born. For your older generation, you probably seen this movie live in theaters. But basically, this Predator movie was based on the island of Guatemala. It stars Arnold Schwarzenegger and a few characters that play politicians. And so they stumble across a few dead bodies. Turns out a creature with incredible strength with the ability of invisibility is causing all of a havoc to them. And now they're being hunted. Predator 2 came out in 1990, yet again a few years before I was born. Shout out to the older generation that had the accessibility to watch it during that time. Predator 2 was starring Danny Glover, who prized the role as a police officer who believed that the dead bodies that were showing up was a result of gang wars and the drug cartel. But he was wrong. Unfortunately, the dead bodies were a result of an extraterrestrial hunter that has super night vision and can turn invisible. And then a few years later, Predators, that's plural, Predators, came out in 2010. I was around then. I actually went to the movie to see this. I seen it in the movie, there's Predators. Basically, there are several strangers somehow dropped off in the jungle. They only have two choices. Either they work together to survive, or they become the trophies of these extraterrestrial hunters. But I like to rate this about a 4.59 out of 5, simply due to the action and the storylines that somehow had a consistency. But other than that, that is the end of Tezzz Talks. Now back to your regularly scheduled program.
Thanks, Tezzz. Predator 1 and Predator 2 are both super good. Now we're going to take it to one of our new crew members, Molly Gardner, for her review of Guardians of the Galaxy 2. Molly?
This is Molly Gardner with Nerd Central. This week I will be reviewing the movie Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, courtesy of Marvel Studios. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 raised $863.4 million at the box office. The movie is filled with lighthearted humor.
You look like Mary Poppins.
A soundtrack that'll have you singing. And a heart-wrenching ending. The movie movie starts with Star-Lord, also known as Peter Quill, who is half human, half celestial, Gamora, Drax, Rocket,
Dude! I'm using my wrong eye.
and Baby Groot, who are trying to secure Analyx batteries from their latest employer, the Sovereigns.
Sovereign fleet approaching from the rear.
Why would they do that?
Probably because Rocket stole some of their batteries.
Blue, the Sovereign fleet is destroyed by a mysterious ship, and the Guardians crash on a planet. Soon they learn that the ship that helped them is owned by Ego.
After all these years, I've found you.
And who the hell are you?
I'm your dad, Peter.
But it is very short-lived when Peter finds out the truth.
It broke my heart to put that tumor in her head.
What?
This movie is filled with some unnecessary commentary, like a 5-minute discussion about tape.
Shut up and give me some tape. Does anybody have any tape out there? I want to put some tape over the death button.
Nobody has any tape!
Not a single person has tape.
You have an atomic bomb in your bag. If anybody's gonna have tape, it's you!
Not only does Guardians of the Galaxy 2 have wonderful humor, it also has a great soundtrack. Overall, this movie was completely different from the first Guardians of the Galaxy. Hopefully we'll hear from the Guardians again in a few years to see what kind of havoc they've caused once again. For Nerd Central, I'm Molly Gardner.
Thanks, Molly. I'm Mary Poppins, y'all. We're going to take a short break. Please stay tuned for more Nerd Central. Welcome back to Nerd Central. We have a bit of music news to share with you guys. Tom Petty of Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers died of cardiac arrest at the UCLA Medical Center on October 2nd. Tom Petty, who was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2002, his most notable works are Free Fallin', Here Comes My Girl, and Into the Great Wide Open, which featured Johnny Depp in the music video. We here at Nerd Central send our thoughts and prayers with the friends and families of the deceased. In TV news, Fox's new show, The Gifted, premiered to lukewarm ratings, but the critics seem to like the show. Set within the X-Men universe, The Gifted follows an ordinary family that learns their kids are mutants. The government is then tasked with the capture and imprisonment of the kids. The show mentions some X-Men characters that we have seen in films, but none have made it the move to the small screen other than the character Blink, who was recast and played by Jamie Chung. The Gifted airs every Monday on Fox. Now we are going to take it to Zach's Mighty Morphin Madness.
Welcome to another episode of Mighty Morphin Madness with me, your host, Zach Brown, where we talk about everybody's favorite teenagers with attitude, the Power Rangers.
Ay, 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 what do we do?
Teleport to us 5 overbearing and over-emotional humans.
No, not that, not teenagers.
That's correct, Alpha.
I was afraid of that.
In this episode, I'm going to be talking about one of my favorite Power Ranger series of all time, Power Rangers Lost Galaxy. Power Rangers Lost Galaxy first aired on Fox Kids on February 6th in 1999. This was the 7th season, and this was the first season to start the trend of new characters and Rangers in each new season. The series follows 4 young adults leaving Angel Grove, California for the space colony Terra Venture to find another planet like Earth. While on the jungle planet of Miranoi, the eventual Yellow Ranger, who is native to the planet, leads the humans to the Quasar Sabers that are in stone. The 5 main characters pull the swords out and become the chosen Galaxy Rangers. The original Red Ranger, Mike, ends up falling into a huge pit and is thought to be dead, but ends up passing the Quasar Saber to his younger brother Leo, who then becomes the main Red Ranger of the series.
You can do it! I've always been so proud of you, Leo. I always will be.
This season also did something no other season has done, and that was a death of a Power Ranger. The Pink Ranger Kendra sacrificed her life in order to save the space colony from the evil Psycho Pink Ranger. The producers had to write her out of the story because the actress, Valerie Vernon, got diagnosed with leukemia and had to leave the show to start treatment. After a brief battle for the abandoned Quasar Saber, the former villain Astronema and also the sister of the Red Space Ranger Andros from the previous season Power Rangers in Space, Corone takes up the Pink Galaxy Rangers' powers and joins the other Rangers for the remainder of the series. The season concludes when the Rangers defeat evil and return the Quasar Sabers back into the stone, thus restoring the galaxy back from all the damage that evil did to it, and bringing back the original Pink Galaxy Ranger, Kendrick, back to life.
Look.
This season followed the previous season of In Space with the same darker tone and more mature themes than any of the seasons before these two. Overall, Power Rangers Lost Galaxy will be forever in my top favorite seasons because I watched this season when I was a kid, and who doesn't love nostalgia? This has been another episode of Mighty Morphin Madness. Now back to Nerd Central.
Thanks, Zach. Now we're going to take it to Haley Southard for her review of American Dragon, Jake Long.
Hi, this is Haley Southard from Nerd Central, and today I will be talking about American Dragon Jake Long Season 1. Main characters include Jake Long, voiced by Dante Basco, Rufio from Hook, or Prince Zuko from Avatar: The Last Airbender. Jake's grandfather, voiced by Keon Young, who appears in shows like Codename Kids Next Door and Avatar: The Last Airbender. Next are Jake's friends Trixie and Spud. Trixie is voiced by Miss Kitty, who also voices Tarani Cook from Witch and Raquel Irvin from Young Justice. Spud is voiced by Charlie Finn, who also appears in Life on a Stick and Help Me Help You. Jake's younger sister Haley is voiced by Amy Bruckner, who plays Phil's younger sister Piffy in Phil of the Future. Foodog is voiced by John DiMaggio, aka Dr. Draken from Kim Possible and Brother Blood from Teen Titans. Jake's mom is voiced by Lauren Tom, who voices Jack's mother in Samurai Jack and Number 3 in Codename Kids Next Door. Jake's dad and the Huntsman are both voiced by Jeff Bennett, who also voices Johnny in Johnny Bravo, as well as Clay Bailey in Shaolin Showdown. Rose, aka Huntsgirl, is voiced by Mae Whitman, who plays Katara in Avatar: The Last Airbender. Jake Long is a teenage boy who can change into a dragon and whose responsibility is to protect all magical creatures. Jake's grandfather teaches him how to control his powers in order to fight the Hunts clan, hunters who kill both magical creatures and humans. Jake has to balance his lessons and fighting evil with trying to live the life of a normal teenager. What I like about this show is the diversity of characters, its action, and its comedy. The show displays some Asian culture while telling a story about growing up. The characters are distinct with some comical quirks while teaching about diversity and acceptance. What I don't like is that the animation is different for the second season of this show. The voice actors are the same, but the characters all look different. I mean, I get it with technology developing, but come on! At least it's not different animation with different actors. If it was, then we'd have a bigger problem. If you're gonna do 2 seasons of one show, keep it consistent. That's all from me. This is Haley Southard from Nerd Central. Stay nerdy.
Thanks, Haley. We're not bragging. He's the American Dragon. That's going to do it for this week's Nerd Central. Nerd Showdown is next. You can watch Nerd Central and Nerd Showdown and all of our other amazing shows on KNWT's YouTube page. Follow Nerd Central on Twitter at nerd_central_TV and follow KNWT on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Please stay tuned for Nerd Showdown.
Hello and welcome to Nerd Showdown, the part of Nerd Central where we battled it out on a particular topic we have no business debating. This week we have a Nerd Central versus Gen 2 showdown. The topic this week is very touchy in and around the nerd community. The most painful death in an anime series. Painful as in emotional, not physical. Keep in mind, KNWT airs family-friendly content, so try not to curse. I'm your host, Tezzz, and I have with me two fantastic fighters. To my left, we have Nerd Central crew member, Eli Stanley. Eli, what is your most painful anime death?
Well, for me, that would probably have to be Simon's sacrifice for Urza Scarlet in Fairy Tail.
And to my right, we have Gen 2 creator director, Devin Benzat. Devin, what is your most painful anime death?
It was a difficult one for me, but I chose Yusuke's sacrifice against Sensui in Yu Yu Hakusho.
All right. The rules are simple. Both competitors will be able to make their point to the audience. After that, yours truly will get to decide who reigns supreme. And the results are in from last week's showdown and the battle to see which adult TV show was the best. Rick and Morty or South Park? And the winner is Rick and Morty, and a unanimous decision. Congratulations, and thank you all who have voted on the poll. Now that that's out of the way, let's show down. Now, Devin, you may go ahead.
All right, so I'm going to set the stage a little bit for you here. Yu Yu Hakusho has a lot of deaths in it. Some of them are sad, and some of them kind of aren't. The series actually begins in the first episode with Yusuke's death. He dies immediately in a car accident, but he's granted life back in exchange for doing work for the spirit world. There are other moments where it's very clear that the death is going to become permanent, that it's a character that everybody really cares about. And one of those moments, probably the biggest moment for me, is in the third season. Yusuke, he's the spirit detective for Spirit World, and he has to fight his predecessor, Sensui. Sensui is like a world-class spirit detective. He knows every single form of martial art. He's an expert in all of them. He's got crazy spirit power. He's an incredible psychic. He's a mastermind at his plans, but he's just a jerk. He wants to open up Demon World and combine Demon World and Human World because he believes that humans are fundamentally corrupt and flawed and that they don't deserve to have their own world anymore, and that the demons, having overcome their flaws and being more powerful, should just overrun. So Yusuke fights this guy. The fight with Sensui is probably one of the longest fights in the series. It goes on for a super long time. And he just has to watch helplessly as his best friend is battered around. And Sensui loves to toy with his prey, and he just gives Yusuke a moment to just think, and Yusuke's like, it's over. I can't do anything. But Kuwabara's new awoken power is that he has a new sword that can cut through dimensions. And he's only been able to bring it out once. And he can't ever do it again. And so they're just watching helplessly, and Yusuke takes a moment and he goes, I know how to do this. I know how this fight ends. And throws the fight completely. Just gives up and lets Sensui start pounding on him, and he knows he's going to die. And everybody is begging him, get up, do something, fight back. We know you can do this. You're the world's only hope. You cannot die. And Yusuke sits there and takes it and allows Sensui to finish him off in front of his friends to give Kuwabara the push that he needs to awaken his power and slice through dimensions and finish the fight with Sensui. And to be honest, it's probably one of the very few moments in anime that have ever actually made me straight up cry. Not just tear up, but just like a heavy moment.
Yeah.
So are you?
Okay, so this death was actually kind of the same, like, you know, I'm a man, not supposed to cry, but I definitely cried during this scene. And it's like right in the beginning too. Like, first season, Urza, you know, after the death of her guardian, who was in the Fairy Tail Guild, just to defend her, she was going to die by the hands of guards, and her guardian stood up and took the magic, shot to himself, and all you see is him with his back to her, arms spread wide, and the fairy tale guild mark just on his back. And that's the last time she ever sees him alive. So she uses that death and those emotions to rally up everybody and just starts taking out guards along with her group of 4 friends. And finally, Urza teams up with the other 4 kids, and they end up taking guards out and rallying all the rest to fight their way out. And then, bringing her back to the tower, finding out that the R system was now finished and they needed her as a sacrifice, basically, to put up to Dark Lord Zareth. And through 8 years of being trapped there and enslaved there and finishing the tower, he was loyal to Urza. And so when they came to get her, he found an opportunity to explain this to her, and they started fighting back and trying to get the other friends back on their side. So it's kind of like this, friendship turmoil and everyone coming to terms with everything they've known in the past 8 years is just a lie. And that's a lot for anyone to handle. I mean, I've certainly come into contact with that kind of conflict myself. And so, this anime is just a lot of stuff that you have faced as a regular person, love, family, friendship, all of that. You face it yourself, and so you pick out characters in this anime to empathize with. Come to the final battle with Jalal because Urza thinks it's her destiny. She's got to take him out. She's got to, rid this world of Jalal for good. The Etherion has struck the R system, and that is insane magic power. Only the council can, rectify shooting off magic that powerful. And with Jalal's scheming, he actually got them to do it. So Jalal lets loose this insane magical attack that was going to kill them. And Urza stepped right in front of Natsu and was like, this is my thing. I gotta do it. And so she was ready to take that blow, and in the last second, in comes Simon. And he did the exact same thing that Urza's guardian did in the beginning. Last thing you see of him is his arms stretched wide, his back, everything. That's all you see. And then he just goes down. And during the time that she's just wrought with all of this sorrow and grief that her friend who's been loyal to her for 8 years of her being gone, she's just holding him. And she's like, why in the world did you do that? And he was just explaining that the entire time he had loved her.
That's going to do it for Nerd Showdown. Now the winner is, I'm going to have to go with my man Eli Stanley, simply because of the detail and how the character died, and they had to make a decision whether to save this one or let this one fall, and then I was like, oh no. But Northwest Session is next. Just as a reminder to go to KNWT's Twitter page to show your support for this week's showdown. Make sure you check out Gen 2 Monday through Thursday at 8 p.m. on KNWT Channel 8. See you next time. Now, I need some time to deliberate because I'm emotional. I get attached too easy. I don't need to use the bathroom. I need time to think.
Good.